Hey everyone, it's Erin Mitchell from Blackbridge, Harley-Davidson. I got my colleague Michelle Sullivan here with me, and we are so excited to be talking to Jean Bolinger, the proud parent of Cricket Moonshadow, Outlaw Moonshadow, inverted. Did I get it right? So, also known as Cricket underscore the underscore Boston Terrier, and you can find her on Instagram, where she has racked up an astounding 115,000 followers on Instagram. But that's not as impressive as the fact that Cricket has over 500,000 miles on the back of a motorcycle. And Jean, you have what, doubled that? You just broke 1 million this year.
Yeah, at 1.3 million miles now. Yeah.
1.3 million. How many motorcycles is that?
Too many to count. I stopped a lot.
What are you riding right now? What's your go-to?
I have a few bikes in the stable, but my primary ride is a 2018 Road King Special, and that's my big red bike that's got an FXR T fairing on it, so the big fixed fairing. And that's the bike that I put the most miles on. And then I've got a really nice 2014 Street Bob that is more of a show race bike. That's my fun bike that Cricket doesn't get to ride on too often. And then I've got dirt bikes and a bunch of other fun stuff too.
Nice. So obviously, how did you go from like how does one get 1.3 million miles on a motorcycle? Like where do you even start? I mean, I guess it starts with the first mile, right? But walk us through that.
Yeah, so I started riding motorcycles as a kid. I learned on my uncle's farm out in the middle of Washington State, just kind of goofing off with my cousins on dirt bikes and mini bikes, and really had a passion for it then, just as a little kid. And when I got a little bit older, my dad was in the sport bike scene for a while and had a bunch of motorcycles. And so I used to tandem, stunt ride, and stuff with him. He was a little bit wild as well. And I think that's where my passion for motorcycles initially came from. So when I was a teenager, I knew that I wanted a motorcycle instead of a car. When I became the correct age to get a driver's license, I knew that that was my goal. So what my dad did was he dropped a frame in the garage and he said, "When you build it, you can ride it." So that's how I got my first motorcycle. My dad and I built it together, mostly with him supervising and making me do it. And that was a 1969 Triumph Bonneville. Little chopper that we did, and I put a lot of miles on that little bike. But the first time I rode cross country, I was 16 years old on that motorcycle.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you cross the country at 16 years old, like independent woman?
Well, I rode with a few other people on that trip, but I don't know. For me, I never looked at it as anything but an adventure. I just wanted to be on the bike and I wanted to explore. And I was somebody that I moved a lot growing up, like every year and a half to 2 years, because my dad was in the military. So I had lived overseas and I've lived all over the United States, East Coast, West Coast, and everywhere in between. So I just had a passion for travel, and riding a motorcycle is for me the best way to experience travel with the elements and the scenery and feeling and being a part of it. And I really enjoy motorcycle camping too. That's something that I just am absolutely passionate about. So taking the long roads and seeing all the sites that are not for tourists, just kind of, all the little back roads. I just absolutely love that. And so basically I got the bug once I had been on a street bike operating it myself. I never really got off of one.
Did that early introduction to the mechanics of having to build your own first bike come in handy, over the course of 1.3 million miles? Like, you got to have breakdowns and things along the way, right? Did you feel, was that part of the journey, like being able to kind of like fix and tweak and?
Yeah, Absolutely. Bikes are a little bit more complicated now with the electronic systems. In fact, yesterday I had to take my one of my bikes into a Harley dealer for the first time probably in 15 years to get the BCM flashed for some upgraded lighting so that it would work properly. But outside of that, yeah, I do all of the maintenance on my motorcycles myself in my garage. I've got a nice setup and a lift and everything. So I maintain them all. With the amount of mileage I put on, I do about an average of 10,000 miles a month. It would be really cost prohibitive and expensive if I was paying, like a dealer to do service that frequently for me. So I think that the advantage there is that I can do a lot more traveling and afford to do more traveling because I'm saving so much money doing that myself. And it is, fairly basic and simple with a manual to just follow directions for people that are new to it. I know it's intimidating. But what's nice about our motorcycle community here in Vegas, and I'm sure the same up there for you guys, is that people really want to help each other and want to help each other learn. And so if it's intimidating, you can find a mentor that can help guide you. And so I do that a lot with a lot of other women where they've had maybe a bad experience at a motorcycle shop or something. And they're to the point where they do want to learn and they do want to be able to solve problems when they're on the road. And so I'll help girls learn how to do the basics first, just oil changes and air filters and things like that. And then eventually, kind of graduate up to more technical stuff with them. And it's really rewarding to see people grasp that knowledge and hang on to it and learn and then be able to teach other people. It's a real fun experience to have.
You talked about learning how to ride on the farm as a young woman, as a child. And, earlier today we were talking with another female rider who said that she learned, by being a passenger. And that kind of brought up, it was an interesting thought to me about, I wonder how many women got into the sport on the back of a man's bike. And is that a weird thing? Is it a weird that the introduction of sport doesn't come from other women? So do you have any thoughts on that, or any I don't know, it's just a weird.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say that it's pretty substantial, the number of women that are introduced to it that way. And that's just the way I've been in the motorcycle industry literally since I was born. My dad was heavily involved in it. So that's the way it had always been. Women were, if, sometimes they use not so nice terms like backpacks, or, they're the pillions or the passengers. They weren't really considered riders. Or if they were dirt bike riders, but not on the street because that's dangerous, right? But so I guess it is a real natural progression to learn that way. But I think it's great that women are empowered now to enjoy being on the back, but have the ability to just go do it themselves too. 20 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that the women's community would grow as much as it's grown, because for so long it really was women were passengers, and it was very rare that I ran into other female riders. But now there's just so many females out there. It's such a growing community. It's amazing. There's so many all female events that happen. One of my favorites is Babes Ride Out. They do several motorcycle camping trips. And, those started as little events with like 20 women that were just friends that just wanted to go camp out together. And now there's several thousand women that show up from all over the world to come to these events. And it's just amazing. And you don't have to have any riding experience to show up at these events. They have bikes that you can borrow and learn on, and people that are willing to teach you. And so I think it is a really good natural progression to sit on as a passenger and kind of decide you even like being on the back of a motorcycle. And if you do like the experience of being on the bike, then to learn to do it yourself, absolutely. But I do agree that we need more opportunities for women to learn from women. Something our local dealership that does here in Vegas, Red Rock Harley's amazing, is quarterly they do an all women's riding academy, and they have at least one woman instructor too in it, which I think is fantastic, because there is a lot of like intimidation factor for newer riders to have that learning curve in front of other men. And I think it's a lot easier learning environment for women to learn with other women and to learn from women. That way they're less intimidated to maybe ask questions, or they're not as embarrassed if they drop the bike during the class and things like that. So we've seen really a huge increase here locally when they do offer the women's only riding academies, whether it's through the local community college or the dealership. We've seen a higher success rate for people that are first time attendees, and a lower dropout rate, because just the environment's more user friendly to the women and it's more catered to them. And so that's something that, gosh, I never, I'm sure a lot of the dealerships thought we can't fill a whole class with women, because it was so rare to see them. But it's something that they do now, and they're getting more of a demand for it now that people know that it's around. And I just think it's fantastic. And I also think it's great if you're going to be a passenger to go take that class anyway, so that you can have more knowledge to be a better passenger for the person, that's driving you around. I think it's a great thing to do that. And so I'm excited.
You answered my question, because I was going to ask you, what can women do? Just like, how can female riders support, encourage, and introduce other female riders to sport? So,
there's so many good organizations now, nationally. Some of them are international, like Moto Girls and Alitas, that are just women-based groups that educate. They have this great online presence and sense of community where you can ask in a women's only forum any question you want, from as simple as bike maintenance or riding skills, all the way up to, where do you go to the bathroom when you're traveling in the middle of a national park on the side of the road, or, silly things like that too. But, questions you want to ask that maybe you wouldn't want to ask in front of men. There's these great communities, and those formats also let you know about the women's events so that you can go in person and meet them. I'm going to be speaking at a summit, actually, and it's a motorcycle campout summit for women this year in June. It's called the In Cahoots Motorcycle Campout, and that's going to be in Durango, Colorado. So that's one event that I found out through social media as well. So I think that's a big bonus of social media. If you're a new rider, you're interested in riding, I would say get on Alita's page, your local Alita's page, go to some meetups, meet some ladies. You'll be able to find mentors there. There's so many women that just have a passion for teaching and for guiding, and for, and have great patience to do that and want to do that, and are very good at doing it. And usually they tend to navigate towards those groups. Here in Las Vegas, we have a group called Sin City Moto Girls, and it's amazing. We have riders all the way from 15 years old up to almost 80 years old on everything from, little mopeds or dirt bikes, all the way up to big touring bikes, and trikes and everything in between. And some women are members of women's only motorcycle clubs, MCs, and other women are just part of the community to meet other ladies and have women to ride with, whether that's going to lunch or, going to rallies or special motorcycle events where you can travel with other women and be safe and things like that. And that's when I moved to Las Vegas 5 years ago. That's how I met all the other female riders, is I got on Facebook. I contacted Litas that were local. I contacted the Moto Girls that were local. And I just started showing up to their meetups and introducing myself and my dog to them and going on their rides. And it's just a really great community. We do a lot of charity work together as well. They sponsor, once a month, they sponsor a rider for either an advanced or a beginner riding academy class through Harley or through the local riding academy at the community college. So it's just an amazing opportunity for new riders to come in and meet women that have a lot of experience, that want to teach them, that want to give them a really positive and safe experience with motorcycling. I think that's what our big aim is. is to make sure that women have a good experience. Because 20 years ago when I started, the attitude from the other riders about women, especially on, something like a big Harley, was more of a joke. They thought it was funny.
Yeah.
which is funny in and of itself, because size certainly doesn't matter when you're on a machine.
Right.
The machine's doing all the work, and we as women tend to be a little bit better instinctually at things like shooting and riding, because our ego's a little bit less and we're more instinctual. So I think that any woman can be successful on a motorcycle and do the same thing that I do. I travel around the world solo, typically with my dog. And, when I'm in town or I'm in areas at events, I ride with groups. But, 90% of the time I'm by myself, just because I'm on the road all the time. And most people don't have that much time to be out on a motorcycle like I'm fortunate to have. So I would really encourage anybody, if you're interested in riding or you want to meet more female riders, hook up with one of those groups, and just start showing up. It can be awkward at first when you don't know anybody, but the whole reason people are on those communities and ride with those groups is so that they can meet other riders and mentor new riders. So it's just a really, really good community.
Did you ever imagine that, your passion for riding, your just inherent desire to be on the bike would lead you to this platform?
Never. No. Yeah, it really still blows my mind. Um, just seeing how much it's evolved, even in the last 5 years, but really in the last 20. I remember seeing other women riders in Sturgis, like the Motor Maids, and they're just such lovely ladies. But I just really never thought there would be like this big movement of young female riders and just a big mix of such diverse female riders, whether you're on a sports bike or a touring bike or a dirt bike, whatever it is, it's two wheels. It's so much fun. And just to see the passion and the exponential growth recently is really heartwarming. It's really exciting. And I think a lot of that's come through social media, where people can get online and see and share in the adventures by watching what other women are doing. And then they're like, yeah, you know what? If she can do it, I can do it too. And so I think that's one of the great benefits that has come along from social media, is that it is inspiring for women to see other women conquering these things that maybe friends and family are saying you can't do, because we can do it safely and enjoy it and have a good time.
Yeah. Well, I love just how beautifully you blended, your day job and your interest in animals with your passion in riding and, traveling with Cricket, and what a blessing that must be. And is it true that Cricket is an engaged passenger and she knows how to lean into the turns and she's
Yeah, absolutely. Cricket's my second biker dog, and my first Boston Terrier that rode with me, I kind of feel like I always thought she loved to ride, and she did love to ride, but I think she more tolerated riding. Uh, when we're on the freeway going over 70, she'd lay down in her carrier and like take a nap or whatever. And so now that I've had Cricket and I see the difference in the response of the dogs, I think, wow, it's totally different. Like, I don't know if Cricket was Evel Knievel back in the day or what, but this dog never lays down in her carrier. It doesn't matter if it's raining or hailing or we're going 80 miles an hour on the interstate. She is up and into it. And when we get to the mountains, it's the cutest thing. She like taps her feet inside of the carrier and starts cooing to me like that, and get the like she can't hold the excitement because she knows we're gonna hit turns. And I can look at my mirrors and she's leaning on either side of my head into the turns. It's just the cutest thing like you've ever seen. She acknowledges other bikers when they pass. Like, she turns and looks at them, or if they come up
like,
west, she's looking. It's it's great for me because it makes for excellent pictures. She's always looking at the photographer, but she's really looking at the other motorcycle. And she's super smart. She knows when she hears my friends' motorcycles, she knows that, whose bike is who and who's coming to visit. I mean, she's a really smart dog, but yeah, she gets upset if I don't take her. Like if I'm going to go run an errand or I'm getting on, my fun bike, my little Dyna, that's not as comfortable for her, and I leave her at home, she lets me know that she's not happy about it.
Well, speaking of Evil Knievel, Jean, I think one of my favorite photo videos of the two of you is you doing a full-on like freestand with like cricket on the back.
Yeah.
We're
Don't
gonna
tell me
we're gonna have to
that.
put that clip in here somewhere because that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm a little wild at heart. I try to slow down when she's with me for sure, and definitely I'm a lot more responsible when she's with me. But when Cricket's not with me and I'm out riding with the boys, I tend to get a little crazy sometimes.
That's good. We all got to do that, right? So.
Yeah, fun.
So, what are you looking forward to? I know that this global pandemic has really affected a lot of things for all of us. Our routines are different, our lifestyles are different, our ability to travel and interact with our support groups, our networks, our friends is different. But, fortunately, riding is still something that we can do safely. So, although this riding season, well, you have an all year riding season. For us, we still have snow on the ground over here. But what are you looking forward to this year, and what's kind of on the horizon for you?
I'm really some of the events coming back because I miss my motorcycle family. Even though I ride most of the time between events by myself, once I'm there, usually I'm with a big group of people and they're kind of like my road family. And I miss all my friends and I miss meeting new people and just having that social aspect of that part. But I haven't really slowed down. I've been doing as much writing during the pandemic, and it's actually been kind of nice because there's less traffic and less competition for hotels and for campsites and things like that. Um, so upcoming, and Crick and I are going to be filming a documentary this year it was supposed to come out at the end of the year, but it'll probably be delayed into 2022. So that's a project we're really excited about, to do that. And it's just going to kind of tell our story and what we do and some of the charity work that we do while we ride as well too with veterans. And then, there are a few women's events that I know that are definitely on for sure that we're going to be attending this year. I'll be speaking and doing a meet and greet at the In Cahoots motorcycle camp out in Durango in June for sure. If Canada lets me up there, we are planning on going to the Renegade Riot camp out, which is on the Vancouver side, so on the West Coast. Um, we've been wanting to go to that for years. And then actually, at the end of April, we'll be down in Mexico in San Felipe with Builtwell for the El Diablo run, which is absolutely one of my favorite runs all time, probably. I like that more than Sturgis or any other motorcycle event. And that's primarily like vintage choppers and custom builds. And it's so fun just to ride through Mexico with all these neat choppers, and then we all end up in the beach down there in San Felipe and we do some off-road racing with the choppers, and it's just a big party for a few days, and we have a lot of fun with that. And there's a ton of women down there now. When I first started going to that event, only 5 or 6 years ago, I was like one of two women down there, and the other one, was a spouse of somebody, one of the founders of the event. So it's amazing to see a whole bunch of women driving, riding down, crossing the border, and traveling, down into a foreign country to do this run. It's just really awesome to see so many people joining in it. So we've got a lot of stuff coming up this year that I'm super excited about. And Babes Ride Out just announced their new dates for their East and West Coast events. And hopefully, those will be able to happen. California is a little bit more strict than some of the other states, but we're hoping by that time enough people will be vaccinated, that the state will allow large gatherings again, especially outdoor ones like that. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to more traveling and putting more miles on my bike and hopefully seeing some of my friends on the road again. I miss all the bike shows and things like that.
So, Jean, when you've ridden over 1 million miles, what's left on the bucket list for you? Like, I want to know what your remaining dream ride that you haven't done yet is.
Oh man. Well, I really would like to do a world trip, like a full world trip. I've ridden in 18 countries, all 50 states, but I really would like to do a world trip. I haven't ridden in Africa. I haven't ridden in Europe. So those are areas that I would really love to travel to. I had a Europe trip planned, but, COVID obviously kind of ruined that. So that's where I'd like to go. I've ridden all over Asia, all over South America, all over Central America, but I would really, really like to hit Europe and Africa. And I'd like to do it all in one swoop, just do like a world relay ride on my own. I think that would just be fantastic.
Erin, it sounds like we might need to petition Harley to get Jean a Pan America.
Okay.
I am so
Jason
excited.
Momoa, we got Jean in cricket. Like, come on.
Man, I love the look of that bike. I love that Harley has expanded to that. I have to tell you this, only last month was the first time I got on a live wire, and I kind of got on it as a joke. My friend was my friend was in the market for a new bike, so like 5 of us girls went over there, and we all took different bikes out to test ride, so she could swap between them during the test ride and kind of sit on all of them and ride on all of them. And our local dealer here is just amazing, and they are very giving and trusting and let us do stuff like that on a regular basis. So all the cool bikes were taken by people who I said, I've ridden all those bikes, I don't even need to take one, I can just ride my bike today. And they said, no, you need to ride a bike you haven't been on. I'm like, you don't have anything I haven't been on. So they pulled out, as a joke, they pulled out the live wire, and I tell you what, I put that thing in sport mode and I had an ear to ear grin. I had so much fun on that bike. I mean, it's not practical for me and the dog, but man, that thing's got a lot of zip to it.
It's
And
responsive.
yes, it's the handling on that thing is amazing. I was literally like bugs in my teeth smiling. I had so much fun on it. So I imagine that Pan American is going to have the same response for me. I've got enduro bikes and stuff, but I'm a Harley girl. I really am. More than half of my miles have been on Harley. So I have had excitement for that Pan American since I heard about it, and I just can't wait for them to get out for the public so I can get on one and play on one.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. Yeah.
Well, we can't wait to hear your feedback when you do. We're eagerly awaiting that the Pan America to arrive. And we hear it's coming in May to Canada, so we're expecting it soon. The live wires have been pretty fun. We have a whole demo fleet of them, so people can actually come into our dealer and just take them, like go for a rip, have it for the weekend, like just go at like, it's an amazing bike. And it's been a slow adapter. I mean, people think it's funny, right? That the big question we always get is like, does it sound like a Harley? Well, no, it doesn't.
But nobody comes back from the test ride without a shit-eating grin, which is really
Right?
funny.
I mean, I hadn't had that feeling on a bike of just like, oh my gosh, because it was so unexpected for me. I was like, oh yay, I get to ride the the little bike, but it was just really unexpected, and I loved it. And I was like, man, if they were a little bit more affordable, I'd get one because that's fun. It's just not really practical for me, as right now, especially with the dog. But it's a fun bike. I would encourage people to go try it because I had a great time on it for sure.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Well, Jean, before we close out, do you have any advice for any riders? Not just the ladies, but for people that are riding or getting into riding. Anything that you want to words of wisdom, I guess.
Words of wisdom, I would say, always learning. So something I do every year is I always take some type of rider safety course or learning course or training camp, because we all can develop bad habits of riding, especially if you're, riding in groups or on your own. And it's so great to have an instructor give you some constructive criticism and point out those bad habits. Especially if you're somebody that does have to put your bike away for the winter, those are always, it's a great idea to do a training class at the beginning of the season to kind of refreshen your skills. And I would say just be brave. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no question that's a stupid question. Really, with motorcycles, we want to see, and I want to see women be safe and have the same positive experience that I've had with motorcycles and find that same joy and passion that I have with it. So definitely reach out to other women in your area. People can contact me through DM. I know people all over the US and all over Canada as well too, and internationally. So if they're having trouble finding someone local to ride with, they can always message me on Cricket's page, and I will get them in contact with somebody that would like to mentor them, because I think that's a huge part of it. And that's male or female. I think that the community is, really so tight in motorcycling, and we have so much to offer each other with knowledge that, people should really try to take advantage of that. And, ride your own ride. Obviously, we hear that a lot, but, with social media, I think a lot of people, kind of like to put out an image, whether it be of skill or whatever, but just be careful and make riding the priority, not getting the videos, not getting the shots, and learn and improve your skills and be safe, I think, is number one for sure.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. That's the message we've heard from all three of the women that we talked to today. So it's really cool to see the consistency right across all the spectrum of riders we've talked to today.
That's awesome.
Jean, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed our chat this afternoon. So thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. For everybody watching, please make sure to follow the adventures of Jean and Cricket on Instagram, Cricket the Boston Terrier. And we look forward to connecting with you soon, seeing you as soon as the borders open. And, we'll definitely get out for a ride in the near future. So thank you again.
And safe travels to you both in the meantime.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, ladies. Great one.
Bye.